everyone, welcome back to Grow Leafy with Alethea, and I've got a special friend with me, Darcy.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about gardening today. And I've known Darcy for about 5 or 6 years now because we actually worked at the school, at the same school together with kids. And I would see her coming to work with plants, flowers, vases. She would be giving things out to people, and I'm here learning about gardening. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what is this? And I would ask her questions, and she always had such a passion and joy about gardening. And I know that she has a lot of interest and loves to educate other people about it. And so I thought that it would be really great for you all to be able to hear from her on some of the projects she's working on. So today we're actually going to talk a little bit about what she's doing on her property in terms of native plants and the importance of it. So tell me, how long have you been gardening?
About 23 years.
23 years.
Yes.
That's a very long time. I didn't realize it was that long.
Oh yeah, since as soon as we had our first yard and I could start digging in, I did.
You did. How did you learn how to garden?
Trial and error, asking everybody, but the biggest thing was probably the Master Gardener program I did.
Was it very helpful?
It was. There was a lot of information and more like showing you where the resources are to dig deeper, because there's always more to know.
Particularly in the U.S. and the United States, there is an extension office that we have where there's Master Gardener programs that you can go in, and I don't think it costs anything because it's through the extension offices that are connected with the university.
Yeah, there was a fee, but it was not outrageous.
So it might be something that you want to look into, and if you're in another country, another place in the world, just look within your community. There's always people that want to teach other people about gardening. A lot of gardeners that are on my channel asking me questions on, just how to get started. They might feel overwhelmed, not knowing what to do, how to start gardening, where to put even a plot, or what to even start with. Do you have any suggestions for a beginner gardener?
Ask people. Ask people, and then don't spend a lot of money because people share everything. Especially with the native plants. Everybody wants to get more native plants out there. Gardeners love to share their plants. I'm a plant pusher. Okay. You've seen me at school. Yeah. I'm like, here, do you want part of this? Do you want part of that? So even that hydrangea right there, I have a friend that gave me that, and I think of her every time I see it.
Just getting comfortable so we can really have a conversation and not have too much feedback. So native planting is something that is new for me, and it's I may not be a beginner gardener, but still early on in my journey. And so I have not yet intentionally sought out to plant a whole bunch of native plants. So tell me, why is it important? What are the benefits of it?
So the biggest one for the gardener is it's so much easier. You don't have to worry about fertilizer, less pesticides, less water. Once those plants are established, you're good. You have to plant them where they're happy. Some of these plants over here I know need more water, so I put them closer to the pond. But if you plant it in the right spots, you pretty much don't have to do anything with it. It's there providing nutrition and beauty, and it's so much simpler. So for us, it's easier. Less chemicals, less pesticides, but also it's very important for the climate and for the animals. So for example, I was just reading today that like one of our native oaks supports like 500 different caterpillar species.
Wow.
But if we were to get it, I think the example he used was a ginkgo tree, which is a beautiful tree, but it supports about 5 species of caterpillars. Wow. So it really is important for the biodiversity.
Okay.
That the animals have what they need. I mean, it's not that they can't use the nectar, but they don't get the nutrition. They can't digest it.
So what happens, what are the risks if we don't, have that shift in thought of planting more native plants in our areas?
The biggest thing that I get concerned about is the invasives take over.
Oh,
if you look down here, it's covered in Japanese honeysuckle, which is gorgeous. It smells nice, and people used to love it. I hate it.
They're beautiful.
They
smell good.
They do. But they send out these runners, and they take over areas like you would not believe. And if I had one planted here, and in a few years it's going to be all the way over there. And they outcompete our native plants. So when I had the native plants there, you saw I think it was the blackberries back there, the honeysuckle is taking over all of that.
Right.
So when you plant the right natives in the right spot, they are happier and stronger. But we also have to fight the invasives at the same time.
So it sounds like when we plant the right native plants, there's something that nature just does naturally to really combat the problems of the invasives.
Yes.
That's really interesting. Without us having to do too much maintenance to do that work.
Yes. And of course it depends on the species. Some are more assertive than others. But the honeysuckle, for example, gives off, I'm going to mess up the name of this, it gives off a juglone, I think, where
the juglone, also in the black walnut
tree.
It's
the same. If it's not the same chemical, it's the same concept.
The honeysuckle?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's another reason it's able to take over all these areas.
I've got a bunch of honeysuckles.
Get rid of it.
I didn't know that.
Yes, there you go. Get rid of it.
Okay. And get rid of it. There's so many. I have so many on my property, and but they come back even if you try and pull it up.
Yeah, do not just try to pull it up. I mean, if it's just like a small plant and you can grab the root, fantastic. But if you just try to cut it back in the spring, it's going to double down. Like if you cut your flowers at the right time, you know how they get extra flowers like that. So you don't want to do that. But in the fall is really the best time. You want to cut the invasives right at the ground level, and then you want to dab it. I know I hate thinking of like Roundup and those things, but there's a brush killer.
Okay.
I never spray it, but you just dab it right on the opening of that cut, and then it gets down to the root of that plant, hopefully.
Okay.
And then you take care of the plant. Then it's gone.
And that's what you have to do.
Yes.
On your property. And she has a very large property. How many acres do you have?
About a little over 3 acres.
3 acres. And what are some of the plants that you are growing? And we're going to actually take a look at the area where she has a native plant and actually was able to get a grant fund for it. So really check with your extension office, because there might be some really great resources that you can look into there. But she is also growing some vegetables this year, right?
Yeah, I have some vegetables up there on the hill.
Yeah. And so what are some vegetables or just native plants that you're planting? Let's talk about vegetables first, since I know many of my viewers were really talking about a lot of vegetables right now. What are some vegetables that we would find in your garden?
Oh, you're going to find several different types of tomatoes, squash, watermelon. I love pumpkins. What else? Jalapenos. That might be it. Peppers. And then some herbs.
Okay. What are some native plants that you're actually planting?
So I had this big project. And plants are expensive, but I grew most of them from seed. Some I bought from Drop Seed Nursery, but by and large, I planted mountain mint. I planted blue salvia, prairie smoke, rattlesnake master, butterfly weed. Several milkweed, swamp milkweed. I'd have to be walking there and look to tell you, because I planted over 300 containers of winter sowing this year.
Well, on that note, let's go take a walk over there.
Okay.
So we can identify some of the areas and some of the plants that are starting to already plant up. So let's go take a walk at your beautiful tour. Can you talk to us about this area here?
So this is called I Bit Off More Than I Can Chew. This is about 3,000 square feet if you start all the way here, all the way down to that end. I had very good intentions. You can see the blue tarp. That's probably going to stay like that another year. It's just a lot of work. If I had advice, I would say start much, much smaller. So, but it's been fun. The other part is mostly planted, and that's probably how it's going to stay for the rest of the season.
I love how you have, I know I'm stopped, this doesn't have anything necessarily to do with gardening, but I love how you have set this up right here, because then, you know, you can enjoy the lake that you have, and it's going to look really beautiful.
So, and I just planted some of these poppy mallow.
What is it called?
Poppy mallow.
Poppy mallow?
Yes, here's a better picture. Here we go. Purple poppy mallow, because it's going to be gorgeous.
Oh, okay.
And it will trail down the sides of this. So I'm so excited for that for next year.
Purple poppy mallow.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I'm so excited. There's a couple of them. I've got most of them from cuttings, but I bought 2 of them.
What are these down here?
So these are cardinal flowers, and they obviously like a lot of water, which is why they were underwater yesterday with all the rain. But I think there's 5 of those there.
Now, how would I know which one is the...
It should have the flag directly in it. It kind of looks almost like dandelion leafy right there.
Okay.
Right? That one.
Okay. I see that. And so you do a lot of sharing as well.
Yes.
So do you want to talk about that, some of the sharing that you do? Because I know you do a lot of seed sharing.
So the seed swaps we did in usually the fall when everybody's kind of gathering those in the winter. But today there's somebody coming over here after you, and she's bringing me some cardinal flower, and I think she wanted red oaks. So we just kind of put out what we have a lot of, and there's several different groups. Ooh, can we put the link in? Okay, the link in the comments.
Yes.
That you can find your own native swap group, and you can just say, all right, I'm brand new. What do I do? And people will tell you. We are very excited about sharing native plants, about getting more native plants out, and we all grow more than we need so that we can share them with people. So you can spend a lot of money, but you do not have to. We've got rose swamp mallow, which will be huge.
Down towards the creek
right,
area?
The one that's right in the water. That kind of likes to be in the water right there.
Okay.
So he does not look really hot, but he just was transplanted and he's kind of stressed out. I'm not worried. He will be fine later.
Okay.
Baptisia is one of my all-time favorites. It will be about a 4.5-foot plant, 4x4. I have a couple rows of prairie smoke, which will actually look like a grass. That's those 2 rows down here. This one is purple love grass, and that is going to be beautiful. We've got 5 of those planted over here. These are some phlox. This is a zinnia that reseeded itself from last year and is definitely not native, but I can't tear it out because I love them. Here's some yarrow. Butterfly weed over there. There's 3. 1, 2, 3. And these trees, 2 out of the 3 made it. I got from one of the swap groups. They're American hollies. This one I love just because of the name. It's an eastern wahoo. And deer have been eating it like crazy, but luckily it's been growing back. These are, I think it's called muley grass. It'll be huge fountain grass, like 4x4, but it's pink and it gives you a lot of fall color. This is just my still life. I knew the water would just wash down all of the mulch. Here we're starting to get to, these are coral berries.
How long ago did you plant the coral berries?
Coral berries, mid-May. Mid-May. These are blue sage. These ones I ordered because I didn't have enough, and they're pretty tiny. But they did beautifully with winter sowing. If you look down here, the same plants.
So this is a fairly large area over here that you're going to be planting a lot of things. And where the flags are pointed, if you want to talk about your flags and the method to this.
So every single time there is a flag, it's because I planted a native species there. Here is the blue sage that was the same as the one over there, but this one I got from seed. And he's just happier. You can see the size. So there's no difference to the color coding of the flags. It's just I ran out of one color and needed to move on.
Okay.
I did not anticipate needing over 400 flags.
400 flags. So is that the total?
And I need more, yes.
And you need more. So
yes.
You've planted 400 plants.
Easily, yes. Because I sometimes forgot to flag them.
And just to give everyone an idea of the space, 400 in this space here.
Yes, well, there's some down on the path and some back in the woods, but the majority of them are out here. So the taller plants are in the back, the biennial gara.
I'm going to have to come back for sure to visit and see next year.
You should come back and see what the difference in the year. I'll be interested in seeing that. There's a lot of mountain mint here. and aromatic asters and blue mist flower down at the bottom. The blue mist flower has really taken off. And my mailbox for my little shovel and gloves. And sometimes when I have extra, I just put it over here. I'm not sure
Wow.
where to plant that. That way I can dig it up later if I want it.
Thank you for the tour.
Yes, anytime. Please come back next year because I'll be very curious what it looks like.
Okay, I'll be back next year.
Okay.
All right, so thank you so much for that tour.
Yes.
I can't wait to see what it's going to look like next year. Over 400 native plants planted in her soil. So what a way to take the autonomy in, in gardening. So can you remind us of the link that you were talking about, a description, to check the description?
Yes, please check it. If you have any interest in native plants, if you want to do something large scale or small scale, find the link that'll have your local area. So I think it's anywhere there's a lot of groups in Kentucky. So if you're in Kentucky, check it for the link and you can find your swap group. People are very generous. They will give you all the seeds you need to start, plants to start. We're just excited to have you.
And then as well, check with your local extension office as well for any resources. But I want to thank you so much for being with us today. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, like it, and remember to subscribe to this channel because I will be adding videos every week. So thank you so much for joining us today. And remember to grow leafy, and I'll see you next time.